everybody. Thanks, BoLS fans. We are Larry Vela here. I'm here with Abe.
I'm Stable Abe.
And we have Codex Astra Militarum.
What?
How excited are you?
I'm a little excited.
It's pretty excited. Abe has been playing
This entire millennium.
He has been playing Astra Militarum for all of the 21st millennium.
Yes. This entire millennium, I have played Astra Militarum. Or Imperial Guard, whatever you want to call it.
And he's very, very excited. We have the new book, 8th edition. Here it is. It is the latest of the rapid-fire releases from Games Workshop. And we're going to go over the basics for you really, really quick, and then we'll dive into the Codex.
Yeah.
First of all, standard Codex, just like you would expect from a Games Workshop product for Warhammer 40,000. It is a book. Yep. It's made of paper, hardcover, all the basics. We have 144 pages. And then we'll kind of go, I'll roughly break out the various sections of the book of that 144 pages. We have about 65 pages of background, and kind of going with all of the kind of long legacy and history of Astra Militarum Codex, as we do get to cover not only the organization as a whole, but a lot of your favorite regiments are back.
A lot of the regiments are back. One of the things I like about this book too is they do mention a lot of other regiments that aren't necessarily represented in the book, and they have a lot of good conversions in here.
They do?
Those cool regiments.
And I did notice that there's a couple they went out of their way to, it's not just models. There's really good artwork, and they are showing now both male and female guardsmen.
They are, yeah, absolutely.
So that is something I've never seen before in an actual Games Workshop book.
Yep.
So
this is, I would say, the most both the most inclusive Imperial Guard book we've ever had.
That's true. The enemies of mankind will equally kill all humans, regardless of gender. There we go. So we have 65 pages of background. We have our standard 10 pages after that of the color plate section, showing all the sexy miniatures. We'll show you that. Then we get 40 pages of general army rules and all the unit rules. Followed by, at the very end of the book, as we've seen kind of standard Codex layout, we get our dozen pages at the end that are going to cover relics, warlord traits, psychic powers, all that kind of stuff.
Points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Points, the summary, the master weapon chart, all that stuff. There are some new units in here, and there is one unit who is no longer in the book. So we will get to that in time. All right, so let's start off. And let's take a look at our fluff pages.
All right, so
just kind of pick some kind of arbitrary pages in there that you think are cool.
Just really quickly. So we've got, this is one of my favorite pages in here. This is kind of what Larry was talking about, where it focuses on a number of the non-major regiments. You've got some artwork.
These are new.
Some of these are new. But I think what's funny is they go around. So there's 8 regiments that are focused on this book.
Yes.
Those are going to be the Acadians,
the
Valhallans, Catachins, Destroyans, Mordian Iron Guard, Tolerans, the Stormtroopers, or the
Scions,
the Tempestus Scions,
Armageddon Steel Legion.
And the Armageddon Steel Legion.
So the classics.
Yeah, the classics. And I think it's funny that they give like all of them an entire page or two of fluff here.
Yep.
Except for Mordians, who just get lumped in with everyone else. I'm like really sad that they're just like, and then the Mordians were there, and
they look so good.
They look really great. But yeah, so you've got like Armageddon Orc Hunters in here. You've got the Tanith. You've got the Savlark Hemdogs,
who are back. Those are those are kind of also classic. Some of these are new, and some of these are regiments that they've been in the background of much older, but they always had like line art or black and white, or they were just mentioned. But now they actually have really cool artwork.
And like there's more of this throughout the book, but this is one of my favorite pages of that.
Yeah, there's like this one regiment who looks a lot like, almost like Scutari.
But
they're guardsmen.
They're the Red Cowls, and they come from some forge world, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're cool.
Yeah, so this is this is a really cool one.
Okay.
That details a lot of stuff. Again, you got your female guardsmen, sergeant or veteran with their chainsword and everything. You've got more of these. You've got the Ventilari nobles, who are these super noble guys who go off and fight for the emperor.
Which basically means that their heads are taken from
Pistoliers.
Empire Pistoliers is what that is.
Yeah, so more of those. I think this is really cool. Just exploring just new regiments, and then they've got your timeline of events.
Right, all your classic, 4 pages of the guard kicking people's butts.
except it's guard, so most of it's like, this is how the guard died nobly this day.
This is true.
Like 80% of this is just like, yep, and then that guard regiment fought bravely to the last and were all killed by something horrible, or by the Space Marines for seeing too many things.
That's
like,
true.
Like whatever.
They beat the demons and then they all had to be killed.
Yeah. So a lot of this is fluff that you've probably already read, going back to the Imperium.
Sure.
But we do have a nice section. This entire page here is the new stuff since the Dark Imperium.
Oh, okay, right.
Started. So this is kind of new fluff.
It is all new.
I don't know if some of this stuff is referenced in like the core book already or in any of the newer novels, but it is new for Imperial Codex or Astra Militarum Codex. You've got some funny ones like this False Hope one, where like a whole fleet of guys are like, oh, we found the Astronomicon again. And we're like, been lost in the warp for so long, and they follow it to the end, and it's just all Alpha Legion.
Oh,
because again, this is mostly about like
Alpha
how Guard died bravely that day.
Tell them a story about your favorite one with the Grey Knights.
Oh yeah, so here we've got
this is a fantastic story.
The Wages of War is this little section here, and it's the Tolerance and the Grey Knights have to team up to fight the Mother of Miseries, which is a sentient Nurgle plague. It's
not going to be good.
Living demon plague, and they figure out this way to beat it. And at the end of it, the Grey Knights like carve the names of all the Tolerant commanders into their armor to honor the Tolerants, and then kill all the Tolerants because they know too much and they might be contaminated.
So sad.
So you got that. I mean, you've got the background of Knight Commander Pask down here, where there's like a battle in which over 8,000 Imperial tank companies, not tanks, tank companies are destroyed. And this is a smashing victory for the Imperium.
I love the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, they're just like, how many takes is that? I don't know, probably all of them.
Then we have our section where we're going over all the various units. It's all your background. It's Games Workshop art. Most of it is reused or has been touched up or colored.
Yeah.
It used to be black and white.
So yeah, for a lot of this, you get all the big hits of the Guard pictures. So I mean, they did use the best pictures. I think this is a newer Chimera picture.
And this section is all artwork, which is great.
Lots of nice artwork, lots of nice pictures.
Hellhounds.
Yep.
The perfect vehicle with those pesky flyers are messing with your army.
Yeah. You got all that. Interesting, like all the super heavies are in this book again.
Correct. All the Baneblade variants, they are now in the Codex. They're part of it. They are now an integral part. Welcome to 8th edition.
Yep.
There's not a separation. Big color plates on all. Know your Baneblade variants. Beautiful.
Yep. Know your Baneblade variants. They've got one on Lehman Russ's as well.
They do note that Creed is missing.
Yes.
And there is a new concept in here, which is really cool. They do specifically pick up the story from Fall of Cadia. So Cadia has fallen, and the Cadians are basically now like a space-bound force.
Yeah.
And they're all over the galaxy, and they're kind of known as the Cadian diaspora.
Yeah.
So they're just all over the place, and the call of Cadia stands is now echoed all across the Imperium by thousands of Cadian regiments everywhere.
Yeah. So Creed, all this talks about all those special characters. Creed is fate's unknown. Krell is confirmed dead, obviously, because Abaddon killed him.
Yeah.
Hask is out there. He's fine.
Yeah.
He wasn't on Cadia. He's got
doing his stuff.
He's got like the super armor guys. You've got
Strachan
and Harker in here.
The Catechins make out like bandits in this book. We're just gonna say
they are.
They are.
And then you've got some stuff about the Faith Millet. I don't know the Faith that Storm.
Exactly, because there are some, and there are that is one of the big surprises in this book, is that compared to the index books, there are some units that were previously kind of those like fringe peripheral Imperial units that maybe they were like Imperium only, or maybe they were part of the Church. A couple of those units have actually now received the Astra Militarum keyword, and they're now in this codex.
Which honestly is a weird. Some of that was weird to me, because there was things that were normally in the Astra Militarum book before,
right?
And then for the index, they split them out into like their separate faction, like
now some of them have
like the primary, like all the Psychers, or the air guys,
right?
For some reason, the Valkyrie and the Officer of the Fleet were a separate part of the index,
like for no reason.
Yeah, and then the Aeronautica Imperialis or whatever, and now they're all back in the book together. So I don't know what really the point of splitting them off in the index was, but I mean, who knows?
One of my personal favorite parts of the book, Ogrins and Nork. Nork is great.
Yeah, he's got his giant knife, and he has a headbutt, which is one of the most which is a very devastating melee
which we will tell you about.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. Ratlings, all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff.
We're not gonna the whole thing. We're gonna flip you over to the color plate section.
So most of this is stuff you've seen before.
Yeah.
There's not any new models in this book, unfortunately.
Correct. There are no new kits,
Yep.
although just as we've seen with the Chaos book and with a couple others, there are a couple new units that use new miniatures. Well, that use existing miniatures. But as far as like, there are no new kits.
No new kits. This is my favorite picture in here.
Okay.
It's a tank company of Cadians, and it's like and like the caption is like hiding in their tanks. The Cadians, on this world, the Cadians are protected from noxious fumes as they fight the Necrons. Except if you have to look at the picture, like all the commanders are standing out of the tanks. There's all these guys like riding on the outside of the tanks, and I'm like, yeah, they're not protected at all.
They don't care.
But this is one of the cool ones again. So here we actually have all those regiments you saw that the plates for earlier that aren't like the standard
color
regiments.
artwork plates.
Here they've got a lot of the converted models, and they even have a whole army of the Ventilla nobles.
And it's really cool because what they've done is basically, since the last time we had a Guard Codex come out, there have been new ranges of classic models have been released. So what they've basically done is they said, hey, if you want to make a cool army that looks different, now you actually have artwork for it, and they kind of made the artwork around some of the models so that these are relatively easy conversions. So for instance, for the first time like ever in 20 years, like the Savlar Chem Dogs have been around forever. Yeah. But people didn't really know how to convert them. So the Savlar Chem Dogs they're kind of like the Mad Maxi. They're like scavengers, and they're like techno. Yeah, they're like they're kind of like the dirty dogs of the Imperial Guard. And how you make the Savlar Chem Dogs is you basically combine Cadians with Gene Stealer Cult guys.
Scrape off all those.
And then you paint them in kind of normal colors, and that's what Savlar Chem Dogs.
Some of the other ones just include taking like heads and little bits from
the Skitarii
and stuff, and putting them on
and mixing and matching those.
So really cool.
So lots of really cool. Just here's a couple easy head swaps or torso swaps, and now you actually have a regiment that actually is now fully supported by the fluff, which is really cool.
So they've got their kind of makeshift plastic Mordians here, which are made out of tank commander kits.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that if anyone out there wants to do Mordians, or as Mordian, if people like the Mordian doctrine, there's going to be a run on all of the peaked hat bits. So anyone who has peaked hat Imperial Guard bits, you're sitting on a gold mine. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then we get into the actual rules. So this is the start of the rules.
Soldiers of the Imperium. So what are we talking about here? What are the big things that are going to define the Guard that are new?
Right. So they've got this page has nothing new on it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is kind of the start of that. Which the next page has the really new stuff.
So this is just all the standard orders.
This is orders. This is how you give orders, basically. Right. And these are the standard base orders. They have not changed from the index. They were for who knows how long.
Sure. Okay.
So they're basically the same orders, and it describes regiments and that.
And now we're flipping over to the good stuff, which is what you guys want to see. All right. So I'll kind of hold this way so it's easier for you to reference it while you're talking about the awesomeness.
Yes. So each regiment gets their own order that includes the Military Tempestus. So there are 8 special orders.
Okay.
They can only be given by that regiment's commanders, and they target only that regiment. Some of them are tank orders that tank commanders give to tanks.
Okay.
Some of them are infantry orders that infantry give to infantry.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go over all in detail.
But you can go over like 2 or 3 like cool ones.
So probably a couple that you're going to be seeing a lot are the Cadian tank order, which is pound them to dust, give it to a tank, and this lets them basically reroll the dice when determining the number of attacks from a random.
Oh, nice.
From a turret weapon, which is like your battle cannon, your demolisher.
Which are mostly like heavy D6.
Heavy D6.
Heavy D3.
So let you reroll that number.
Nice.
That's a really good one. The other one you'll probably see a lot with tanks is the Tolerant one, which is get around behind them. This, again, you give it to a tank, and it lets the tank, remember you give it in the shooting phase, lets the tank make a 6-inch move either before or after it shoots. And this is
for free.
For free, and it does not affect their shooting. It doesn't count as moving.
Oh wow! So you're gonna see Talarn tanks either like really moving up fast and getting shots, or you're gonna see like the old school Tal move shoot move.
Yep.
Where they're gonna pop out of cover, shoot you, and then go back into cover.
And this isn't like a single battle suit. This is the Lehman Ross. That's gonna come out of cover. It's gonna come out from behind a hill, unload everything on you, and go back behind the hill.
Yep.
So that's gonna be real nasty. And then
Very
we've got, I think probably another one to point out would be the Mordian one, Firing Squad. I think they spoiled this the other day on the website.
But it's still amazing.
But it's a great one.
You should talk about it.
Basically, you give it to an infantry squad, and they can fire heavy weapons, or not heavy weapons, rapid fire weapons.
Yes.
At characters, regardless of other restrictions.
Ooh.
So this is a really good one to throw on your veteran squad or your command squad with 3 or 4 plasma guns.
Oh yeah.
Hit on 3s, and you're just like, oh yeah, that character there. Eat it.
or like even better, the like I have my giant like 20-man, 30-man unit of scrubs, and there's like one character who's right in the middle of it who's giving him an aura, and you can just pick that guy out and just knock him out.
So that's really nasty. Only Mordians can do that.
Once again, the bits with the peaked hats.
Yeah, so that's gonna
start
make Mordians really good.
Start hitting up all your friends.
And then kind of hidden up here, where you might almost miss it if you're just skimming through this book, is one of the most powerful rules in the entire book. This is the grinding advance rule.
Okay.
And basically what it says is that as long as a Leman Russ, it's Leman Russ only, moves less than half its move, which is normally 10 inches if they're unhurt, so 5 inches.
So 5 inches.
They can fire their turret weapon twice.
Ugh.
Have to fire that at the same target both times, but they can fire it twice, and then they take no penalties for any of their weapons for moving and firing heavy weapons. So this is...
Wow. Okay. So Leman Russ is just...
doubled their firepower, basically.
Just instantly.
Yeah, for no really additional points. So,
right, just for moving slowly.
Yep.
Just if you slow them down, yeesh.
Yeah, and so those static Leman Russes are going to sit there. Suddenly your battle cannons are 2d6, possibly re-rolling how many shots they get.
Sure.
Your demolishers are 2d3 or 2d6, depending on what you're firing at.
Yep.
Your Punisher is 40. It's going to get 40 shots in a turn.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that really... even just your Exterminators can get 8 hollow cannon shots.
Oh, sure.
Which is actually pretty nice at that point, doing 2 damage each. So, all those turret weapons just got a lot better. And the fact that you don't take a -1 for moving
is also huge. Right, which is, which, as everyone knows, I mean, Guard are starting off with hitting on 4s.
Yeah.
So that penalty really hurts them.
It really hurts them. Now they're not going to, they weren't taking it for their turret weapons at least, but all those other weapons, those 3 heavy bolters or 2 heavy bolters and the las cannon or plasma gun cannons, which now you can overheat without having to worry about blowing up on it too. So really is going to help them out there.
Okay. And now we're moving to the actual units themselves. We'll show you. We want to show first of all, I guess the new unit.
The new unit, yeah.
Because it's mostly the same.
Yeah.
The actual units themselves, like 90% similar.
Yeah. There's 1 or 2 that have changed a little bit.
Okay.
But other than that, almost everything's the same except a few points and a few of the upgrade options I think have changed very slightly.
So let me real quick get you over to what you guys want to see. Come on, where is he? Where is he? Right there. Oh wait, nope, right there.
Yep.
Here is our new guy.
So this is an Ogryn bodyguard. This is the generic Ogryn bodyguard. So you've got Nork Deadog, who is the special character Ogryn bodyguard.
And you still have Ogryns and Bulgryns.
Yep.
But here's our new guy. That is an elite.
Yep. He's an elite. He's expensive. He's 4 power level for one guy.
4 power level for one guy.
I think he's like 55 points or something base.
Okay.
But
what is cool about this guy?
So like most bodyguard units, basically he can take wounds for friendly characters.
Sure.
So basically, if there's an Imperial Astra Militarum character within 3 inches of him, roll a dice, and on 3+, character does not suffer a wound, but he suffers a wound instead. And then he's actually decent. I mean, he's a decent fighter. He's a big ogre. But he has 6 wounds, so pretty beefy. Not super expensive.
Yeah. I mean, a 4 power level character. That's a pretty.
I mean, that's not cheap, but he can do things on his own if he wants.
I'm going to look up his points real quick. Ogryn Bodyguard on the back.
Yeah.
Ogryn Bodyguard, 55 points.
55 points. And his
not
basic,
that bad.
And his basic equipment doesn't cost anything. The Ripper gun by itself doesn't cost anything. Yep. So yeah, 55 points for basically 6 free wounds.
On one of your characters. And like we said, Guard characters, Guard are one of those units where those commanders they're given, or they need to stay alive.
They're very important, and they're not the toughest characters.
Yeah, and they're super squishy. Yeah, so having a bodyguard around, I think this is going to be a pretty popular choice.
Yeah, it's not bad. Keeps your remember this works on your commissars as well.
Yep.
Technically, I think.
Can he guard a tank?
He can actually guard a tank. Your tank commanders are characters, so you can have a bunch of these stand behind your Leman Russ command tank and take wounds for it. I think technically, by the way the rules are written, he can actually take Peril's wounds off of your Psyker somehow. He protects them from the warp.
He's
like, oh, I got you, bro.
That's pretty awesome.
So yeah, he's pretty interesting. And I mean, he's a decent character on his own, but 6 additional wounds, put that next to your commissar or something. And suddenly all those people who are like, oh, I'm just going to take 5 snipers and we'll snipe that commissar.
You're like, no. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. I'm gonna drop in my one little squad. You know, I'm gonna deep strike some little teeny tiny squad and try to assassinate
the little guy,
your captain, and you're like, no,
it's not gonna be that easy.
Yeah.
So he's really cool. We've got one other new unit in the book.
Yeah,
that's
I don't remember where it is.
It's
this is a funky one.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a new unit to the game.
Correct. It's a new unit to the Imperial Guard. Yeah. Well, to the Astra Militarum. What do we have here?
So they took two of the units. There's in the index. There's the Astra or Adeptus Ministorum subsection, and they put two of those in here. So they got the Ministorum Priest, which was already an Astra Militarum character.
Right. They just arbitrarily put him in that section.
Yeah.
But he was a Ministorum. Yeah. And he's been part of the Guard forever.
He's been part of definitely.
But this is different. Crusaders.
So they also took the Crusaders, and the Crusaders were in the index, but they were in the Adeptus Ministorum section. They didn't have the Astra Militarum keyword.
Now they do. They specifically now have the Astra Militarum keyword. So these guys are part of the Imperial Army now, and it's an interesting unit.
It is an interesting unit.
I mean, it's quite different from and its roles and war gear from like your standard troops.
So I mean, this is a combat unit.
Yeah, exactly. They can fight.
Yeah. So they've got. I mean, this is a unit with power swords and storm shields.
Yeah.
Vulnerable save. That runs around, and they do get an act of faith. Which is weird. The only unit, which is funnily enough, they can use their act of faith to shoot with their 0 guns if they feel like it. They are very specifically allowed to shoot with their no guns.
Very odd.
But yeah, so
like a surprisingly effective assault unit is just kind of nestled in here.
Just in there. It doesn't get a regiment, so it doesn't get regimental bonuses.
Right.
But you can use some stratagems on it. You can do all the other psychic stuff on it. So it's interesting that it's in this book and part of it, but that's good.
All the super heavies are in here.
Yeah.
All the normal stuff is in here. We're going to flip to the back of that. We're going to pause really, really quickly on, all the armories in here. The gazillion and one. Let's stop on this page to talk about the lament of the unit that is missing.
Yep.
Who's not in this book, Abe?
So no longer in this book is perhaps appropriately, not appearing in this book, is the Rough Riders.
Yes.
They have ridden off into the sunset.
Yeah, they are no longer part of the Codex at all. They put them in the index because, as we've seen with the index books, it definitely feels like the philosophy was, if we ever made a model for it, or you might have it in your collection, it's going to be in there. Whereas with the Codex, it's do we make this model and can you buy it now? And there have been no Rough Riders for 20 years, and they're now gone.
Which is sad.
Which is sad because they finally fixed them. They were good.
They were good, and honestly, given the range of Games Workshop stuff, they're one of the easiest models to convert.
Sure.
Because all you have to do is buy any of the fantasy horsemen cav
and swap out the heads.
Yeah. And now Rough Rider.
Acadian heads.
Yeah, and they're already showing you how to convert stuff in this book, so
it's odd,
but that's their philosophy now, so that's what it is.
So if you want them, you gotta build an army out of the index and do it that way, but if you're going to build an army out of this book, there are sadly no more Rough Riders.
Yep.
Alright, moving on. Now we're going to talk about the regiments.
Yes.
So, and Abe you have some pretty good opinions on the winners and losers of these regiments. First of all, 8 regiments. All the classics are there.
Like we went over. So, I mean, I think one thing to point out is that the regiments in this book get more abilities than any other subfaction.
Sure.
Because they get... All the other sub-factions get a sub-faction, a bit like in the Guard book, or Space Marine book, or Chaos Space Marines. They get their faction, they get their warlord trait, they get a stratagem, and they get a relic.
Sure.
So the Guard regiments, or Astra Militarum regiments, get all of those, plus they get a free order.
That's true. Plus they get an order as well.
They do actually have more special, and I think they did a really good job with them in making them all play a little bit different. There are a couple that are a little similar to me, but they all have some pretty fluffy abilities that really represent their background.
Sure.
And do some really cool things. First off, just to point out,
and we are going to go over all of these for you because we know this is what everybody wants to see.
So just to point out, there's a little sidebar over here which is important to point out before we quite get into this.
Okay.
Basically, it's going to say that to get your regimental doctrine, your entire army list has to be out of that regiment.
Sure.
With some exceptions. So this is standard that you have to be out of the same army. The Military Tempestum, the Stormtroopers, they can go into another regiment's list, and the other regiment still gets its doctrine.
So they do not invalidate it by being part of your list.
However, they only get their doctrine if you field an entire detachment of them. So they don't get their special stormtroopers, which is their doctrine.
Right. So if you want their special thing, you have to build a 100% army of them. But you can take subsets of them, plug them into another army, and it won't mess up that other army. Okay.
Likewise, you've got the advisors and auxiliary unit rule, which is all those weird things that don't have regiments, like commissars, augrins, psychers. They can go into your detachment and they don't cost you.
And the Crusaders.
Exactly.
Which is so you can once again, no matter who you are, you can just add a little bit of that, a little bit of muscle to your list without invalidating that.
Again, those guys don't benefit from your regimental doctrines because they're not part of your regiment, but they do get to be in the list without ruining everything.
Right, which is cool.
Which is good. I wish that the Chaos Space Marine list had a similar thing for demons, because right now, if you take demons as a part of your detachment, even though they're in that codex, they invalidate your Legion list.
Oh yeah.
We've also got the match play command squad rule that had been FAQ'd earlier. Now it's officially in the book. This says if you're doing match play, you can only take one command squad per character, per officer that you have.
Sure.
Or one Militarum Capestrus command squad. Funnily enough, tank commanders are officers, so your tank commander can not only be protected by your ogre and bodyguard, but he can have his command squad following around on foot with their melter guns or whatever.
Put him in a chimera.
I mean, you could, or you can have them on foot, because tank commanders need their guys too. But I suppose what they're representing there is that like this guy is not always in his tank. In fact, they even pointed out in one of the fluff that they're like the tank commander normally has access to a Leman Russ or a Chimera to do what he needs to do. So sometimes he jumps out of his Leman Russ and drives around with his command squad to do like administrative stuff.
Okay.
So that's that. Then we'll go over the doctrines real quickly.
Here we go.
So first off, we got Cadians. They're born soldiers. This is a really strong doctrine. I think that's great just for your basic player. If you're not trying to do anything fancy, it's going to give you an advantage.
Okay.
So basically, and also important to note out that unless it specifically says in the doctrine, this applies to all units up from that regiment. It's not a infantry and bikes only kind of thing.
It's everything.
So your tanks and your infantry all get that. So Cadians get to reroll ones in the shooting phase for units with this doctrine that did not move in the previous movement phase.
Okay.
So it does not affect Overwatch because it's very specifically shooting phase, but rerolling ones if you don't move is really great.
Oh yeah.
More importantly, if you give it to an infantry squad that has already been given the take aim order, which normally allows them to reroll ones, they get to reroll all their misses. So rerolls, always a good thing.
Yep.
Catachans get brutal strength. All infantry with this doctrine add 1 to their strength characteristic.
Okay.
So they're all strength 4.
They're all strength 4.
And then in addition, they also get 1 to their leadership if they are within 6 inches of a friendly officer.
Nice.
And then vehicles with this doctrine that fire a ranged weapon that makes a random number of attacks can reroll 1 of those dice.
Okay.
So by base, if you're not using commands, the Catachan Leman Russ is the most deadly Leman Russ in the game. They're really good with that. Catachans, I guess, have this background of using like lots of heavy artillery, so it's very beneficial for their basilisks and things like that. If they're bombarding into, they can reroll that, or your hellhounds getting to reroll a number of shots as well.
Oh yeah.
So they've got really good blast weaponry, and they're really good in close combat. You can definitely get Catachan models in this like basic guardsmen with a chainsword that have 4 strength 4 attacks or rerolling hits, but with various combats.
So Catachans are going to be really, really strong.
Yeah, so
in this edition.
That's an actual close combat unit.
Oh yeah.
The Hounds get grim demeanor. I think this is one of the weaker ones, honestly.
Okay.
Just because there are other ways of achieving these effects better in some ways, but basically infantry units with this doctrine have the number of models that they lose from a failed morale check.
Right. Okay.
So you've already got commissars to get in there and affect that, but if for some reason your commissars have died, it can be pretty beneficial.
Sure.
And then vehicles count having double their remaining wounds when you're comparing it to the chart.
Sure.
So that's a better one. It's going to mean that your vehicles are going to stay up with the top value a lot longer.
The top tier.
Before they get knocked down.
That's nice.
That's nice, yeah. Then Destroyans get to add 6 inches to the maximum range of heavy or rapid fire weapons that normally have a range of 24 inches.
Right, so 30.
Yeah. So you're going to go out, or 30, or your longer range guns go out even.
They kind of feel like, it makes their basic infantry feel a little bit kind of like Fire Warriors.
Like Fire Warriors, yeah, exactly.
So you're 30-inch range band.
30-inch range, rapid firing out to 15 inches.
Yep.
So that's really good for your las guns. Really good for your plasma guns.
Oh yeah.
Really great for your Punisher Gatling cannon with its 24-inch range, or your Demolisher cannon.
Plasma guns are the ones I think maybe benefit the most.
Definitely,
because that's a surprise for most players. Like people aren't expecting to be hit by plasma that far out.
Definitely.
Or to be rapid fired by plasma at 15.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
So that's a really great ability. It's called Heirloom Weapons, by the way. Then you get Armageddon Steel Legion. Their ability, this is one of the ones that they're a little similar but different enough. I think it's fine. So infantry with this doctrine basically get to rapid fire out to 18 inches. They can double the number of shots at 18 inches rather than 12.
Similar to the Death Guard.
Yes. It's basically the exact same as that. So that effect, I think, is very similar to the Destroying one. Yeah. Because you're like, I get to rapid fire at 15, I get to rapid fire at 18.
Right.
Like, is getting rapid fire at 15 and having a 30-inch maximum range better or worse than getting rapid fire at 18 but have a 24-inch maximum range? Yeah. It's very similar to me. In addition, vehicles with this doctrine treat attacks against them that have an AP of -1 as having an AP of 0. So, like, oh, by the way, sorry, all you...
little minor small arms.
Yeah, but like, I guess, sorry, all you Imperial Fist players who got that ability, and then also the ability to shoot bunkers better. Well, we get to rapid fire at 18 inches. So, but yeah, good. That's definitely going to make their vehicles great and a lot stronger, and with the prevalence of, like, heavy bolters that are coming out in the game, and have that -1, that's actually pretty nifty. Tolerance, get swift to the wind. This is a really great ability, I think.
They're fantastic.
Especially if you're playing like objective missions and stuff.
Okay.
So infantry with this doctrine can advance and shoot any weapon type except heavy weapons. When they do so, they do not suffer the usual penalties for firing assault weapons.
So they're the Eldar.
Yes.
By the way, that's battle focus.
Yeah. So as long as they don't have a heavy weapon, they can advance and fire all the weapons with no penalty, which is really great. Again, I think veteran squads are going to become really strong in this book because there's a lot of things that are going to benefit having multiple special weapons. Yeah, I play Craft World Eldar all the time. My Dire Avengers are running around like crazy shooting, and I can only imagine being able to do that with all the guard infantry. There will be some crazy combos. There'll be all those crazy combos. Then on top of that, vehicles with this doctrine do not suffer the penalty to their hit rolls for moving and firing heavy weapons. So again, your Lumen Russes already get to ignore that if they move less than half. But all your vehicles. Exactly. Which makes Lumen Russes moving at full speed. Yes, exactly. Which, remember, with your tank command could be 16 inches. Oh, sure. So that's some really fast Lumen Russes. And once again, great fluff, right? Mm-hmm. The Talaran Desert Raiders, their whole deal is that they're super squirrely, really fast, really a high-speed maneuver army. Yeah. And guess what? That's exactly what they are. But more than anything, that's going to really benefit your Chimeras, which have a lot of guns that are heavy, and it's going to be good for your Sentinels. Oh yeah. Fire without penalty, the stuff Sentinels. Like that. Yeah. So that's really great. Then on top of that, Titanic vehicles like this baby here. This baby right here. Imagine it's tan. If they advance, they treat all their heavy weapons as assault weapons until the end of the turn. Ugh. So high-speed Bane Blades. Yeah. So you will take a -1 to shoot, but you get to advance with your Bane Blade and fire all its guns still. Ugh. Which loving it. Which I think you're gonna love to use on what is the Bane Hammer that can take the what has the big back deck? Oh, the Stormlord. The Stormlord. The one that the big it has the Vulcan Mega Bolter up front and a transport capacity of 40. Yeah. Ooh. 40 exactly. So I mean basically any one of these that you're like, and then I put 8 heavy flamers on it. And then I advance with it and it moves pretty fast. And I can fire on my 8 heavy flamers now. Oh, that's a spicy meatball there. Yep. So Militarum Tempestuous get Stormtroopers. This again is probably going to be the rarest doctrine you see because it requires you to play the entire Militarum Tempestuous list rather than using them in. And basically, if your models with this doctrine are shooting at a target at half range or less, you can make an additional shot with the same weapon for each hit roll of 6 you get. Okay. They don't generate extra 6s. Sure. So it's nice. I think it's a little more firepower. It's a little more firepower. The guns are decent. Yeah. I mean, their guns are good. I think it's a little complex because you get half range and then you got to roll a 6. Right. But I mean, that could that's all your weapons, so that could randomly be a extra melting gun shot. Right. And I think again, this does benefit the Torox Prime, which has a lot of guns on it, and those are a little longer range on some of those. Yep. So that could be. So the Torox Prime, which was clearly
underpowered already.
Yeah.
Now it's completely one of the most overpowered things in the game. It just got better.
It got better, yeah. So I think that's great. And then lastly, we've got Mordigans. We already went over again. They're awesome.
Order.
Yeah, firing squad. So they get possibly my favorite one. If you remember the old 4th edition guard book that had the doctrines in it, it was the close order drill doctrine.
Yep.
And they basically get that. So when they have a infantry unit where all the models are base to base with another unit, so
which is great in 8th edition. Because why not? There's no template weapons anymore.
Exactly. So as long as they're all touching the base of another one, the entire unit gets +1 leadership, which is nice, and you can add +1 to hit rolls made for models in the unit when firing Overwatch.
Ooh, so they Overwatch on a 5.
They Overwatch on a 5.
Just like Dire Avengers. Which is super mean.
Which is.
Super mean.
Similarly, vehicles that are within 3 inches of another vehicle, from the Mordian vehicle, get to add +1 to hit on their Overwatch. Which, I don't know.
I have a quick suggestion for all you Mordian players out there. Not only are you going to want to lie, cheat, and steal to get all the peak tat bits you want, might I recommend some nice little 10-man movement traits.
Yes.
Just to keep your models all in a nice little pack. It'll also make you play faster.
It'll definitely make you play faster. So I think those are all pretty good. The Mordian one I really like. It's an interesting wording, the +1 to hit, because normally you don't get modifiers for Overwatch. So there's a reason they worded it like that. I'll be interested to see if a -1 to hit would cancel out that if you disregard that modifier but get this modifier. So there's a kind of little interesting question there.
We're moving on to the stratagems page.
Yep.
Once again, we're not going to go over all these. There are the book has checking it out. We have 25 stratagems in this book. And there are, it is a combination of mostly generic ones, and then each of the regiments has a special one as well. So there's 8 Legion-specific ones. Well, you just pick out a couple of them.
So
that are cool.
The first one I want to talk about is the reason that they worded the Mordian one that way.
Sure.
And that's called Defensive Gunners. So it's 1 command point.
Is this a generic or is this a Mordian?
This is generic.
Okay.
Basically, you can use this stratagem when a charge is declared against one of your Astra Militarum vehicles, which again, could be this Baneblade.
Could be the Baneblade, okay.
When this unit fires Overwatch, that's phase, they successfully hit on a roll of 5 or 6 instead of just a 6.
Okay.
So, remember with the Mordian +1,
so that's a 4.
That's a 4. So suddenly, something like your Baneblade
that gets charged,
yes,
could Overwatch on a 4.
On a 4.
Oh.
It's also not clear 100% whether the grinding advance rule works in Overwatch, letting you fire twice from your main gun. But if it does,
and you could fire the main Baneblade cannon.
Well, it doesn't fire. It's only leaving.
It's only leaving.
But
still,
it could be like 40 shots from a Punisher Gatling cannon.
Oh yeah.
Hitting on 4s. Suddenly you think twice about charging.
Yeah, that's just you don't charge that.
Wow, what do I do?
Yeah.
So that's a really good one. Mobile command vehicles, another great one. Basically, I'm not going to go over the exact details, but it lets you give commands from a guy who's in a chimera.
Oh, who's actually right? Exactly.
Yeah, normally you have to be on the table to issue commands, but in this one, your chimera,
he can stay inside.
He can stay inside.
That's really cool.
Yep. You've got a really cheap one for 1 command point that lets you give an additional command.
Okay.
So that's always a good one. My
okay.
single favorite one, which look, they've got to FAQ this. I'm going to be honest again, because there's an issue with this. But basically, you can use this stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. When your opponent selects one of your units as a target, you can add 1 to saving throws you make for this unit until the end of the phase.
Okay.
So that sounds really great.
What is that stratagem called?
It's called Take Cover.
Okay, Take Cover.
So that sounds really great. It is really awesome. I love the thing. I love it. The one issue it has is that there's no restriction on the unit you can target with that.
Right.
So if you are allied with Space Marines,
right,
you can
give it to them.
You can give it to them. If you are allied with Tyranids through the Blood Brothers ability of the Gene Stealer cult, you could give that +1 to the Tyranid Bio Titan.
Right.
So there's no restriction. You could give that to the to the Titan that you have in your list.
Right. It's just anything in your list, no matter how you get there. So once again, if people who are using like soup armies and they just have all kinds of crazy, weird, cross-faction things, as it's worded now, if you could stuff it into an army that has access to this codex, you could use it.
You could use it. So as
tricky.
long as you have like one detachment that's in one Astra Militarum detachment, you get that. So probably should change it to be pick an Astra Militarum.
That's what I would assume too.
Little change, but they should probably do that. Some of the other ones are good here. We've also got your.
These are the. This page has all the faction specific ones.
Just gonna go over one of them. Probably my favorite one is the Acadian one here. This is the how do we kill Mortarians? as I call it.
Overlapping fields of fire.
Yep. So you use this after a Cadian unit from your army has inflicted an unsaved wound on an enemy unit in the shooting phase.
Okay.
So you gotta wound them first. Now, but then you can add 1 to hit rolls for any other Cadian units from your army targeting the same enemy unit this phase.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's no good.
So that's the how do I kill Mortarion or something, or some big guy
Right.
that I really need to kill. You're like, all right, well, I'm gonna wound him with him,
With this thing.
and then I'm gonna get +1 for everyone else who shoots them.
Yeah, you're gonna fire whatever in your army has the highest ballistic skill.
Yeah.
Just to get the hit, and then you're gonna activate it, and then the rest of your army is just gonna nail it.
And remember, Cadians, if they don't move, get to reroll 1s now. So that's like, now all my guys are hitting on 3s, or if they're a command unit, they're hitting on 2s, and rerolling 1s, and then suddenly I'm putting some pain on you.
That is pretty bad news. Psychic Discipline.
Yep.
All the psychic.
Only one I want to point out real quickly is the Psychic Barrier. That's you pick an Astra Militarum unit within 12 inches and add +1 to the unit saving throw. Right now that stacks with take cover, so suddenly if you can get +2, +3 if you're in cover itself. So suddenly that giant unit of conscripts has a 2+ armor save.
Those Crusaders with Storm Shields.
I don't know if it affects some people with vulnerable saves.
It's in a vulnerable save, okay.
I guess it might because it adds +1 to the roll. I think I'm not 100% sure. I have to look that up. But again, the Crusaders already have a great save. But this is suddenly taking
true.
Your conscripts to a 2+ save.
Right,
which is wrong.
Which is just wrong.
Or taking your Lehman Rust to like a -1 save.
Right, some nuts.
So they're like, oh, did you have -4 AP? Yeah, I got like a 3+ save anyway. Like,
yeah.
Like, go away. So
that's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy stuff there.
All right. Let's flip on over. Heirlooms / relics. We have 14 heirlooms. Heirlooms of Conquest in this book. Again, there are 8 of them are regiment specific, and then the other 6 are generic.
I think there's one that actually matters.
Okay, tell us of the one.
The rest of them are really fluffy. I don't want to get on them all, but they're really fluffy. A lot of them are weapons, which are close combat weapons, which they're fluffy, but I don't think they add a lot to like a competitive list.
Okay.
The one that you want to look out for is called the Laurels of Command.
Okay.
And basically, you have to get this with an officer with the voice of command, so someone who can give orders.
Sure.
And basically, roll a dice each time the bearer issues an order to a friendly regiment unit within 6 inches of them.
Okay.
On a 4+, the bearer can immediately issue another order to that unit.
Okay. And
this does not count against his maximum number of orders. Okay. So, normally, a unit can only be issued 1 order a phase.
Sure.
This is the only way to issue 2 orders to the same unit.
Okay.
Which is very powerful.
Yep.
Especially with all these unique orders that you can get.
Oh, yeah.
So this can do something like allow a unit to fall back out of combat, fire, and get to reroll attack dice.
Right.
Or any other things you can imagine.
Right.
So that's very powerful, and there are ways of building characters in this army that get to give like 5 orders a turn.
Right.
Or orders to 5 different units, so you could give up to like 10 orders in 1 turn per character. Which, like, if you're talking about order efficiency, which is one thing that works on and people are sometimes worried about, that's a lot of orders. You don't have to worry about that anymore, basically.
Right. So heirlooms.
That's all the other ones are pretty.
Warlord traits. Same thing. 14 warlord traits. We have our 6 generic ones, and then you have a big table of legions of regiment specific ones. Is there like any 1 or 2 of them that you want to? I mean, they're warlord traits. They're not going to like totally unbalance the game.
Probably one of the ones you're going to use a lot is the Master of Command warlord trait. This you give to a character, your warlord. If he doesn't have the voice of command, he gets voice of command.
Okay.
So like Commissar Yorick, for instance, doesn't have voice of command, but he has to take that warlord trait.
Right.
So he gets to give an order all of a sudden.
Which is cool.
Yep. In addition to if you already have that, it lets you give an extra order. So that's your way of getting an officer who gives just without anything special gives 3 orders.
Sure.
That nice. Leads into that whole 5 order thing.
And then on the regiment specific ones, let's just pick like
probably
that's really cool.
The one that's the Cadian one is also really good. This affects orders. It's anytime you give an order on a 4+, that order can affect an additional Cadian unit of the same type.
Ooh.
So again, if you have that crazy combo going,
crazy order efficiency.
Suddenly you're giving like 4 or 5 combo orders a turn. Each of those orders is affecting 2 units, and then each of those can be ordered twice.
Right.
So that could suddenly be like 8 units that are all getting 2 orders.
Right.
If you roll well.
Yeah. And then at the very back of the book, we have normal points. Check.
2 quick things I just want to point out about the book that we haven't gone over.
Okay. Go back.
One of them, yeah, go back real quickly. So one of them I think some people might have missed because I missed it the first time is the vehicle equipment war gear.
Okay.
So there's actually 3 equipment options you can give your tanks.
Okay, for your upgrades.
Yep. They're auger array, dozer blade, and tank guards. They all have special rules now.
Okay.
I'm not going to go over all of them, but just as an example, the track guards is when if your vehicle has track guards, it always counts as having its starting number of wounds when determining how far it can move.
Oh.
So your vehicles are never slowed
nice.
down by
They
getting
never
shot
get.
up.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really good.
So that's really cool.
Okay.
Then real quickly, because I know everyone's going to ask about this, conscripts.
Conscripts.
Oh
yes, I forgot they updated.
Commissars work the same. There's no change to commissars. Commissars still affect conscripts.
Oh right, oh, no, that's Crusaders.
Yep.
Where's the commissars?
Look at them. So what did they change with conscripts?
Okay, conscripts.
Two changes to the conscripts. They went from a maximum of 50 to a maximum of 30.
Okay.
So they got smaller.
All right.
Don't think this is actually going to have much effect. Their points didn't change, so you can take as many as before. You just have to have them in more units. And in some ways that's even better. You're not really constrained by how many units you can take in this edition anyway.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of people were taking them in like units of 30 anyway.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it starts to become really unwieldy.
Yeah.
With just that many models.
Probably the biggest change is that they have this raw recruits rule, which is basically anytime they get given an order, you roll a dice, and on a 4+, the order applies as normal. On not a 4+, that order doesn't have any effect, and they can't be given any more orders this turn.
Okay, so they've lost a lot of their combo efficiency.
They have lost.
They're smaller,
Yeah.
and they're not guaranteed to do anything special.
Yeah.
And once you fail to roll, they're just SOL for the rest of that turn.
They definitely are. There's a few interesting things. Again, that's probably one of the reasons though you want lots of smaller units. Is that because people are like, oh, but you're going to run into like order efficiency stuff. But as you've seen, you can actually get a ton of orders in this book.
Right.
So I don't think that's a huge problem. And I think having lots of little units is going to make some of them have a better chance of getting it.
Sure.
One thing I'm uncertain of is how that Cadian warlord trait that we talked about a minute ago, how it affects conscripts, because it says on a 4+, that order can affect an additional Cadian unit of the same type. It doesn't say you give the order to them; it just affects them.
Right.
So I'm not sure if
can it just like magically just you just be like, and I give it to the conscript, or do you then have to trigger another 4+ on top of that to see whether they accept the order?
Right, because they're not technically being given the order. You're not like, I target this unit. It says I'm targeting this unit. It goes off and it also affects them. So a weird little interaction that might allow Cadian conscripts to be pretty rad.
Okay.
But that was the 2 little things in here.
And that is our initial overview of Codex Astra Militarum. It has just it is the latest Codex from Games Workshop.
Any quick final thoughts about the book in general?
I think it's great.
I think it's really good. I think one thing I like about this book is I feel that since the first time since like 3rd edition, I feel that Leland Russes are viable again.
I do like that. I, being a person who loves the background and kind of the just the kind of the pageantry of the 40k universe, this is the first codex in a while that has really brought back all the regiments.
Yep.
Like it's not just they're there in the color plate section and really it's all Cadians. Now like I think you will see people building these armies and trying to field them because they're cool and they actually make sense.
Yeah.
It's not just all Cadians all the time.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, overall, I think it's probably one of the strongest books. It's the first. It's also one of the books that doesn't focus heavily on special characters.
Exactly.
They are in here, but unlike stuff like Ultramarines, they're not really based around like, well, if you take this one character, your list is 20 times better than if it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean it is a classic guard book. Like even the stratagems, like the stratagems aren't about like individual character heroics.
Sure.
Like you're not seeing. It's not like the Space Marine or the Chaos books where you're going to be doing a lot of things that are going to make my character's going to be able to go up and do this insane crazy stuff because I'm a badass. That's not what the Astra Militarum are about. So this is about volume of dice, volume of fire. This army is going to function the way it should. It's going to grind you down with numbers. It doesn't really have lots of parts of the army aside from the officers that are, oh my god, I killed that, I killed your warlord and now half your army falls.
Exactly.
This isn't going to work like that.
It's not going to work like that. You're even going to have a lot of officers probably. So I think that's a very fluffy lit book. Represents the background, like you said, the background of the various regiments and the guard in general, the Astra Militarum in general. There.
Yep. So that is it for our review, and thanks for watching, guys. Have a great one.